Hi, second graders. Today is Thursday, and we're going to read a book about a topic that I bet you know a lot about, the three R's. So when you hear the three R's, you know they stand for reuse, reduce, and recycle. And that prefix re means again. We've talked a lot about that at school. Re means again. So reuse would mean to use again. Let's take a look. Do you know the letter R? It's the first letter in three words that teach us different ways to fight pollution. It is the R in reuse, reduce, and recycle. Do you know these words? And I'm sure you do. Reuse things that are still in good shape, such as your big brother's jacket. Reduce the amount of things we throw away, such as paper cups. And I also think about the reusable grocery bags when maybe you go to the store. Recycle old things to make new ones, such as a puppet out of an old sock. In the town where Paul lives, people throw their garbage bags into a garbage container at the corner. In the morning, a garbage truck empties the container and takes the garbage bags. But do you know where? Do you know where that goes? To a garbage landfill or dump, which is a huge place in the mountains or in the countryside, far away from the city. It's a big, um, it's a big like mountain of trash, and layers and layers and layers of trash are put in there. In Paul's town, however, there are so many people and so much garbage is produced that every landfill is full already, and nobody knows where to build another one. So they have built a huge furnace called an incinerator to burn all of that waste material. Now, second graders, can you think of a problem about this? We've been doing cause and effect. So, can you think of an effect of doing this? Nobody likes to live close by. People think the smoke coming out of the chimney is harmful to plants, animals, and people. To everything, there is a cause and an effect. At Paul's school, they have talked about the huge amount of waste produced in just one day, and they have decided to reuse as many things as they can. That means they now will use every single object many times until it breaks or it cannot be used anymore. At his school, they paint both sides of all sheets of paper. They use empty cans of paint to keep paper clips and rubber bands. And they use pieces of paper left over to make wonderful collages. Do you have any other ideas? Now, at this point, second graders, if we were in our classroom, I would show you all of the containers in our writing center. The round containers that my markers are in, the rulers, the colored pencils, all of those wonderful tools that you loved using, those are all old cans, Pringle cans, different kinds of soup cans that I have reused, cleaned them out, decorated them, and I'm reusing them now as pencil cups. So that's just one way that you can reuse something. You guys are really good about using both sides of the paper. You're great about using scraps of paper for little things. So you guys are really good at that. At home, everybody reuses as many things as possible. Paul wears the t-shirts that his big brother has outgrown and also plays with many of his old toys. Can you guess how many objects on the right page may be used over and over? So take a look at some of these things. What can be used over and over? And maybe you are wearing something right now that once belonged to somebody else. That's reusing something, and that's a really smart thing to do. Paul's brother outgrew his bike, and now Paul rides it. And since he has no use for his tricycle anymore, he passed it to his cousin. And again, I bet lots of you do that. You pass things along to other people who can use them. That way, they don't have to go out and buy a new one, right? It's already there, it's usable. Something else that we do at home and at school is trying not to waste water or electricity, because this way we help take care of our planet. It seems very little, but the drops of water from a leaking faucet could fill up a bathtub in a day. So keep water and lights off when they are not needed, of course. This goes also for your bath or your shower, especially the shower. Don't put it on and wait 10 minutes before going in, right? That's wasteful. And I want you to think about school. When we were in our classroom, the lights in our classroom, usually I only had half of the lights on. Sometimes I would put both sets on and it would get really bright, but most of the time I would only have half of the lights on, and that saved electricity. And then, of course, whenever we would leave the room, right, we would turn the lights off. When Paul and his family go shopping for food, they take their own baskets or bags made of cloth. By doing that, they won't have to ask for plastic or paper bags at the supermarket, and that will reduce the amount of paper and plastic made by factories. Reducing means using very little, only what is needed. This is kind of interesting because Chicago is a very big city, and they started something recently where stores will not give you a bag automatically. If you want one, you'll have to pay for it. And I forget how much it is. It's not a lot of money, but you'll have to pay for it. And the reason for that is a lot of times people don't really need a bag. They can just take their item or they can bring their own bags. And so that was a very big step that the city of Chicago took to prevent how many bags were being used. Because as we read in Harry and Gary, that sometimes bags end up in places that can be harmful to animals. And they're just not very pretty for the earth, too. Plastic bags, here we go. Speaking of Harry and Gary, are very handy, but sometimes they end up in the sea where they can be dangerous for animals. Turtles may take them for jellyfish and eat them, or they may get tangled up in the plastic rings used to hold cans together. It's very important not to litter the ground, the woods, the bench, the ocean, or the city. And if you're a scout, either a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout, one of the mottos is leave no trace. That means wherever you go, you don't leave any traces that you were there. You don't leave things on the ground. You don't leave litter on the ground. Leave no trace. I like that. At Paul's school, they throw away all paper and cardboard into a special street container. Then trucks pick up everything and take it to a paper mill where used paper and cardboard is shredded and washed until it becomes a pulp that is wet and soft. With this pulp, they can make paper again. And when it gets dry, we have recycled paper. Boys and girls, newspapers are made with that kind of paper. Practically everything can be recycled. Paper and cardboard, plastic objects, glass, cans, all these things are first shredded, ground, or pulped, and then they go through different processes that make new drinking cans, glass bottles, and plastic containers. At school, we make paper paste out of torn and wet old papers. And these are just different things that you can make with boxes and different kinds of things. Paul's parents have told him that food scraps can also be recycled. all food that otherwise would be wasted can be made into fertilizer, which is food for plants. The fertilizer produced this way is called compost. And I'm not sure if all of you have heard of that before. And I want you to think I wonder if any of you have a compost pile in your backyard. Banana peels, lemon rinds that Paul has just thrown into the garbage may become food for plants, like all food scraps, and that's great. The only thing that you should not put in a compost pile is like meat scraps, because that can attract critters and animals, as you can imagine. But things like vegetable peels, apple cores, banana peels, old lettuce, stuff like that, goes in a pile in the yard, and through time, the food pieces break down and become compost. And that compost is very, very good fertilizer for plants. So, what can be recycled? So, when you look at this picture, think about what kinds of things can be recycled. Probably lots of those things, right? If we want to recycle, we have to put the waste in special containers. Now, in the kitchen at Paul's home, there is a container for things made of plastic, metal, and glass, and another one for all the garbage. And I think it's that way at your house too. Newspapers and magazines neatly tied so they can also be recycled. At some schools, they also collect used batteries. The children have been told batteries may not be recycled and that they pollute a lot. So it's very important not to throw them in the garbage. And that's why the children made a special container for them at school. Once it's full, they'll take it to a recycling center where the metal from the batteries will be used to make new ones. If we waste less and recycle all that we can, there will be less pollution and we can live for a long time on our little planet, breathing smokeless air, swimming in clean waters, and strolling through the woods and countryside free from garbage. Paul thinks it's worth the effort. What about you? And it is, boys and girls, Earth is the only planet we have. And we learned a lot about generations. My generation needs to and wants to take care of the earth so that your generation, when you grow up, you will have a safe, clean earth. And then it's your responsibility to take care of the earth so that your children can grow up and be in a safe, clean earth. So it's everybody's job to pitch in and help keep the earth clean. And boys and girls, you are off to a good start because I see the way that you had acted in school and I see the things that you do. You are so good about doing the 3 R's that you are making the earth very happy. So thank you for listening to the story today. I hope you learned something a little new, and I hope that it is inspiration for you to want to continue to make the effort to keep and protect our planet Earth. Have a wonderful afternoon, boys and girls. I will see you tomorrow for our story then. Goodbye.